What immediately struck me about the show this week was how short all the matches were. Really, why even bother with a 10-minute time limit if all the BFG series matches are going to be 5 minutes or less? Yeah, I see what they were going for. They wanted to have everyone in the Bound for Glory series have their second match of the tournament on this show, which is a good idea in theory. To build the entire show around something like that is a good hook to sell it on. But then reality sets in and you realize they've only got 2 hours to fit those matches in on top of all this other stuff they had planned, and there's just not enough time to make it all work. This was really a callback to the Russo regime, where every week he tried to cram too much content into the show to the point where nothing really had time to be featured effectively. Now, thankfully, it never got quite that extreme, but they were pushing it. I mean, when you're holding a months-long tournament to see who's going to main event your biggest show of the year, and the first show where you really focus on it is comprised of a lot of way too short matches, it just really undermines the whole thing and make it seem a lot less important than it should.
This whole show is ridiculous!
I'll dispense with talking about match quality. The booking was still good, and pretty much every match was strong for the time it had. There were no bad matches, it was just a question of length. The show started with the best segment of the night, which they should probably try to make a habit of if they want to get the ratings for quarter one out of the septic tank. Now, Hogan says that the Sting stipulation last week was so horrifying that he's not even going to address it. I don't see why. The attack on Sting wasn't anywhere near as horrifying as TNA seemed to think it was. 3 masked men jumped Sting from behind and gave him kind of a weak-looking beatdown for a minute. I fail to see what's so shocking about that. Maybe they were the same ninjas that kidnapped Samoa Joe in the parking lot or something. I don't know. So that was lame. But they dismissed it pretty quickly, and they didn't come back to it, which I was glad about because it left more time for the greatest man that ever lived. So Austin Aries comes out to give Hogan his answer. Now, his choices were that he can keep the X Division title, or he can vacate it for a shot at Bobby Roode at the pay-per-view. Now, I was worried about how this was going to play out because this so easily could have demeaned the X Division title after Aries had done wonders with it, actually making it prestigious again. But they were smart about it. They put over that the title was important to Aries and to the company, and he actually had the same concerns I had. But this is what really made it awesome. Aries not only put over the X Division by doing this, but he ensured that by vacating the title, the X Division from now on would actually mean more than it did in the past. Aries comes up with option C, wherein he'll vacate the title and take a shot at Roode, but only if every year at Destination X, whoever is the X Division champion gets that same chance to vacate the title for a World Championship opportunity. That's fucking brilliant! You couldn't ask for a better way to put the X Division over. It becomes much more important now because it's a true stepping stone to the World Championship, and God knows the TV title isn't booked that way. It's a major angle for the X Division every year, and no matter what, the X Division champion is going to be viewed differently after this. Plus, this makes it so they can't ignore the X Division title like they have in the past because there's always going to be this stipulation looming over them, forcing them to keep that champion relevant, whoever he is.
Yes!
This was fantastic! Somehow, by vacating the X Division title, Austin Aries made it mean more than it ever has before. Thank you, Austin Aries. Greatest X Division champion of all time? I think he might just be. Then Roode comes out, him and Aries go at it. Austin Aries is officially a world title contender, and I can't fucking wait for Destination X. Now, if the rest of the show had matched the quality of the opening segment, this might have been one of the best impacts ever. Unfortunately, the show peaked in this segment. Not that the rest of the show was bad, although that final segment gave bad a whole new meaning, but every BFG series participant had a match. Now, on paper, this sounds fine. The problem is, there's so many of them that the result was a whole bunch of 3-minute matches, none of which met what they should have because they were just way too short. All of them except for one. One was absolutely perfect. Robbie E is in the ring.
Yet again, I am standing before another ignoramus.
And he challenges anyone in the Bound for Glory series to come out and face him in a match. So of course, Kurt Angle comes out and obliterates this loser in like 30 seconds.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Yes! That was fucking priceless. Oh my God, that was beautiful. Robbie E, man, he's like the Heath Slater of TNA. The guy just sucks so much that when he gets destroyed and embarrassed like this, it's just funny. I mean, seriously, if this is what Robbie E is in the BFG series to do, just letting the other 11 guys completely steamroll him and pick up easy wins, we could have a barrel of laughs in store for us in the next few months.
I'm laughing at you.
The rest of the tournament matches weren't really much to talk about. Anderson beat Daniels, Magnus beat AJ when he was distracted by Daniels. I really wish they'd made a bigger deal out of that one, since it was easily Magnus' biggest singles win to date. Pope beat Billy Ray when Abyss interfered, Storm beat Joe, and Hardy beat Van Dam. And what was funny about that last one was that Hogan said that Hardy and Van Dam were the favorites to win the tournament, even though James Storm was already leading by 17 points. Whatever, Hogan. All good matches. They were fine for the time they had, but again, they just weren't long enough to be noteworthy or meaningful, which really isn't what you should be saying about a tournament that's supposed to be such a huge deal.
This whole show violates everything about my journalistic integrity.
So this month we saw the first female gut check contestant. And I like that. I like that they're varying the talents they bring in for this. It makes it more interesting that it's not just the same type of wrestler over and over again. So we got Taylor Hendricks, who you might know from OVW, or you might remember her as the redhead who got brutalized by Sarah Del Rey on the old ROH HD Net show. Yeah. That Taylor Hendricks. What was I saying again? She gets the usual hype video to tell the audience about herself, and she talks about this cancer scare that she had. And I'm thinking, wow, she must want this real bad because she's playing every chip she's got. She's throwing the sympathy card on the table, and she's not even ashamed about it. I guess you gotta give her points for that. So she has her match with Tara, which was a good choice because Tara can pull a strong match out of most people. So I guess they've learned their lesson after the Robbie E. Alex Silva debacle. Unfortunately, this suffered from the same problem that match did, where it didn't get enough time for the contestant to really showcase themselves. Yeah, I think it was less than 3 minutes, and Tara controlled a lot of it, so you're giving this woman almost no time at all to make an impression.
I was a war correspondent, and now I'm covering this!
That said, I thought the match went pretty decently. There's room for improvement, sure, but we've certainly seen worse knockout matches. I think probably the most important thing is that she got the crowd behind her. They were chanting her name by the end of it, so right there she got more over than Madison Rain's ever been. A lot of credit should go to Tara for healing it up during the match. I'm sure that helped a lot. As I understand it, Hendrix was trending for a while, and this was actually the highest rated segment of the first hour, so the fans did take to her. Now, would I sign Hendrix? I don't know. At this time, I think she'd probably benefit from more training first. I'd give her a developmental contract. Lock her up so she won't be going somewhere else. Let her work on the skills for a while, and then bring her up in like 6 months or a year when she's a little bit more polished. I do like her. I've actually written a few blogs about her. Links are down there if you want to see it. I think she has the potential to be a star. She's just a little rough around the edges still. Nevertheless, she's here now, and my guess is TNA will probably sign her. I mean, hell, I'd say she's got a good chance based on aesthetics alone. I mean, come on. What was I saying? She looks good, she connected with the audience, and plus, she's got the feel-good human interest story that I'm sure they'd love to do something with. I mean, the cancer thing, that's something that could get her a fan base really quickly. So I'm thinking she'll get a contract. I mean, they do really need some new knockouts. Like, half the current ones aren't being used at all anymore. I think the writing's on the wall for those people. Aside from Hendrix, I don't know what other women they might have in mind, but if these first 3 months of Open Fight Night are any indication, potential signees are probably going to come from 3 places. There's OVW, and if you've seen their Twitter page, the Blossom Twins are trying real hard to get their foot in the door, so I expect we'll see them at some point when they get back from the UK. There's Rinka King, so who knows, maybe we'll see Alyssa Flashmaker return, and the Gutchecks seminars that they hold all over the place. In fact, they had one this past Saturday up in Canada, and Courtney Rush tried out. So there's another possibility, and that'd be cool. I wouldn't say no to Courtney Rush. She's really entertaining. So yeah, there's some good prospects on the table there, and hopefully we'll see some of them on Open Fight Night pretty soon. Then they had the Knockouts title match, which was actually a singles match with 4 candidates to choose from. It was Mickie James, Velvet Sky, ODB. Okay, seriously, can everyone in this company be a champion of 2 divisions at once except Austin Aries? And Madison Rayne. Now, they go through the usual multiple segments of hashing out who gets the title shot, with each woman trying to make a case for herself, and quite frankly, none of them really had a compelling argument. In fact, some of the arguments were downright stupid. ODB thinks she should get it because she's different from every other knockout. I don't see why that alone should qualify her for a title shot, especially since she already has a championship that she's not doing shit with.
Therefore, I cannot and will not demean myself by engaging this ignoramus this evening.
Madison thinks she should get it because she's the longest reigning Knockouts champion of all time, which is bullshit because Gail Kim has that record now and everyone knows it.
This alleged superstar is an unworthy opponent.
Velvet thinks she should get it because she never got her rematch for the title after Gail beat her for it last year, which is also bullshit. She got her rematch at Lockdown and she lost. Then she had another title match on Impact a few weeks later and she lost that one too. Revisionist history for the win!
I will not participate in this charade this evening.
So Madison and Velvet are having some serious memory problems. Maybe they've been kicked in the head too many times, I don't know.
Why is every girl on the show crazy?
Then Mickie says that she should get it because she's the greatest woman wrestler in the world, which was surely put out there just to further tease her heel turn, but it was the closest thing to a legit argument that any of them came up with. So it comes down to Mickie and Velvet, and since Velvet got the part in that music video, Mickie gets the title shot, which makes sense. You know, Brooke Hogan is being a fair and unbiased authority figure. She's the anti-Karen Jarrett. So far, so good there. So they do Mickie versus Tessmacher for the Knockouts title, and it's not a bad match at all. Tessmacher wins, and Mickie is pissed. I think she even dropped an F-bomb at the end there. So Mickie takes another step towards a full-on heel turn, and Tessmacher gets another notch in the win column. Nothing wrong with any of this. Although, I do hope the writers will slow down a little bit. Tessmacher has beaten 3 former champions in 3 weeks. She's already gone through Gail and Mickie, and those are the 2 big ones. So I hope they'll pace themselves with Tessmacher so she doesn't run out of compelling opponents too soon. They could tell an interesting story with Tessmacher versus Tara, and when Mickie pulls the trigger on her heel turn, they'll probably revisit that. But right now, she's blasting through opponents really quickly, so writers, just take your time with Tessmacher, okay? It's not a race. And that brings us to the final segment. Oh boy, that final segment. Haha! So, AJ Styles and Dixie Carter's big secret is not that they were having an affair, but that they were helping a junkie get clean. That was about as massive an anticlimax as this story could have had.
This is ridiculous, man, any way you look at it.
Remember when I said that this big secret had been dragged out for so long that there was no way it was not going to be underwhelming? I really did not want to be right about this, but they built up to it for like 6 freaking months, and that was the payoff?
No, no, no.
It was all completely innocent. AJ and Dixie are paragons of virtue and cleared of any wrongdoings whatsoever. The fucking end? Seriously?
Oh, what a bunch of bull.
This storyline definitely had its moments. It had been interesting, and at times it was downright compelling. But in a nauseating twist that would make Vince Russo himself stand up and applaud, they didn't stick the landing. And now this whole thing has jumped the rail like I can't even believe.
I don't know what my future holds, but I know one thing.
And it doesn't stop there, because the more you think about this, the bigger the holes get. AJ and Dixie were hugging because they were watching over her, they were going into a hotel room together in suggestive fashion because they were trying to protect her. That doesn't make sense.
You can take this microphone and shove it up your ass.
So AJ and Dixie were just helping this woman get off drugs. Why didn't they just say that before? Really, why all the secrecy here? They're trying to protect her privacy. Fine. They didn't have to mention any names. Why didn't Dixie explain it to her husband when these allegations started coming out? Just say, we've got a mutual friend who's on drugs and we're helping her get her act together. There! Easy! Was that really such a horrifying secret that they had to drag it out for this fucking long? Jesus Christ, TNA! After all these months of build-up, you needed a better payoff than this!
You people are fools!
And you know the most embarrassing part in all this? The execution. It's entirely possible for a lackluster storyline to be saved, or at least elevated, if the presentation of it is good. But the woman they hired to play the Junkie... I don't know where they found this chick, but they need to send her back.
Oh my God, he's gonna puke! He's gonna puke! He's gonna puke! He's gonna puke!
Oh my fucking God. This was so bad. It was so awful I couldn't even laugh at it. This was, without question, the worst acting performance I've seen on any wrestling show or on television in general since the Eve Torres heel turn. It was mind-boggling, to the point where even Hogan himself was tweeting about how this angle was the shits. Holy Christ, what an epic fucking fail. This episode had too much content and felt kind of rushed. Otherwise, it was okay, but good fucking lord, everyone involved in that catastrophe of a final segment should be embarrassed. All I can do now is just try to forget it ever happened, and I hope every single one of you will do the same.
I'm done! I am done with you! I'm done with this entire show!
That's it. Sorry this video was so late. You guys take care. I'll see you next week. Until then, I'm gonna... I'll be in my bunk. And one more thing. That's 2 weeks in a row now and no mention of Joey Ryan. Is it a work? Is it a shoot? Beats the hell out of me. Stay tuned.